It is in moments like these that your body moves before you can even think. One of my teammates was in trouble and I was the only one around who could still save him. As a spur-of-the-moment reaction, I tossed him a healing pack before rolling out towards him and making sure that my whip shot strikes true to deny the killing blow. This may have been the closest save I have ever pulled off, and I realized that more than wanting to annoy the enemies, I really just wanted to help my team. After all, I'm a support player at heart. It was in that very moment that I knew I had to stop my crusade and get back in touch with my roots. I cannot allow hatred to take over and turn me into what I hated the most: a DPS player. Speaking of DPS players, it turned out that saving my McCree was a worthwhile investment because he was more than willing to repay the debt. The defenders were setting up yet another nanoblade to make sure that our act of defiance would not go unpunished. In an epic showdown of blade versus bullet, it was now in my McCree's hands to either save our team and secure the second point, or doom us all by collapsing under the pressure. A hero can always break out of a tough spot, and our McCree would deliver the final blow that allowed us to stay in the game. Nobody knows if we would have been able to recover from another team wipe, but thanks to our McCree's act of heroism, we were able to come back even stronger and stop the defenders before they could crush our spirits. With overtime ticking down, I was getting desperate to get my ultimate, knowing that this could be the game changer. But what was important was the target. If I just wasted on whoever, all of our effort is going to mean nothing. I had little time to choose as my Ana nano boosted me to expedite the process, and I had to make a choice. I knew that Delphi could melt Diva's mech away with no problem at all. I also knew that the Hammond already wasted his defensive cooldown. And I knew as well that both of the enemy snipers were taken out, so I didn't have to worry about a sleep dart. And then I made my decision. Knowing that another tag visor would prove devastating during this overtime, I ignored their tank line and solo shadowed their soldier one last time. I eliminated the biggest nuisance to my support line, and the rest of the enemy team would fall shortly after. Victory was ours, and we will be able to end our session knowing that solo ulting can be a viable strategy. I spotted a suitable victim and marched onward towards her, but as I was about to strike her down, she landed a sleep dart. What followed was the single coolest thing that ever happened to me in Overwatch. We all know this is a team game, but most of the time it feels like a glorified deathmatch. So to see that following that sleep dart, literally my entire team rolled out to protect me was an insanely humbling experience. Feeling empowered by this Avengers-esque display of team play, I went out and tried once more to get my hammer elimination. I didn't manage to connect enough hits, and before I could regret my decision, their Reinhardt had returned from their spawn room. An epic hammer battle ensues where both of us had been bubbled by Azarias, and really, as much as I had no right to survive this fight, I did. The enemy Reinhardt used his ultimate, which prompted my team to slap him with a no you of ultimate responses by using 2 of them. Even with me only contributing a minimal amount of damage, my team has absolutely devastated the enemies to the point where I just had no target left to try and hammer. Their Doomfist having fed his brains out meant that we had a brief window of opportunity in which we could really push our advantage to try and end this game once and for all. And that's not something that you have to tell my team twice. Our main tank immediately jumped onto the point with unparalleled confidence to show the enemies that we didn't even need to be on Ilias ruins to take this W. Winston had successfully forced the opposition to contest him on the objective, allowing our team to send the cavalry in to drive home the fact that our monkey was never meant to be a sacrifice, but instead the spear that leads our forces. None of us had any reservations when it came to the usage of our ultimates, because rather than worrying about the next team fight, we were here to ensure that there would be no next team fight. The enemy team made a valiant effort to try and stall out the objective long enough to get some of their own crucial ultimates online, but at the end, only one team could prevail, and that team was us. With our team now regrouped, Potato tossed a Diva Bomb into another EMP that, while failing to get any eliminations, definitely bought us the space we needed to move in. The only thing that could destroy our hopes for victory would be indecisiveness, so I took it upon myself to lead the troops into battle and boosting their morale by cancelling the enemy Reinhardt's ultimate. While the time bank gave us a false sense of security, what followed was a literal minute-long back and forth on the card in which we have been trading blows with no side crystallizing as an obvious victor. Attackers and defenders alike have been exhausting the resources time and time again, but as much as the spear could not be shattered, the shield as well wouldn't budge. When the clock read 30 seconds until overtime, we all knew that this couldn't continue. In an attempt of ending this fight once and for all, Amanda boldly dashed into the enemies for the biggest EMP yet seen in this match. The enemies were now completely defenseless, and what the Diva Bomb could not eradicate would be cleaned up by a Deadeye. A wonderful combo that would guarantee Potato the play of the game, but to wrap this match up, we had to make the final incision. Finally, after a long match filled with hardship, we were about to engage in the very last teamfight. And well, what can I say? Our will may be unbroken, but our bodies will be crushed under the combined power of 5 ultimate abilities. We kept fighting until the very end, but at last the defenders will come out victorious. And with that, they ended my Sigma legacy before it ever had a chance to begin. The end. Any flanking attempts the enemy team made were immediately shut down by my Roadhog, and with the enemy Doomfist taken out, I figured that I could be so bold as to go in the flank myself. Of course I had to clean up the front line first, but once that was taken care of, I decided to go and make sure that Hammond can continue doing Hammond things. Just look at how incredibly well our team was playing together. While I was trying to make a point for if Jeff didn't want Zenyatta to be a flanker, he would have given him footsteps, my Roadhog was right there keeping me safe from any diving annoyances. I doubled down on my flank but had to take cover when my HP fell dangerously low, and just when I found myself in a life or death type of 1v1 with the enemy Ana, AZ rolled up to make sure that I am the one who comes out victorious. It isn't often that I am blessed with a team that not only decides to defend each other and play together, but one that goes as far as covering for each other's feeding. I had no right to be anywhere near the enemy spawn, but there I was, getting back completely unscathed thanks to my amazing teammates. Marvel in awe and disgust as this Tracer melts away my HP through the power of shooting my knees to then be rewarded with, that's right, headshots. Resentment towards broken hitboxes that haven't been fixed in 4 years aside, my Mercy decided to not only put herself in danger, but actually sacrifice her life in order for me to walk this earth once more. Having witnessed such noble sacrifice, I made sure to use that second chance well, and while my floating robot body can't literally walk this earth, I made sure to acquaint Mercy's killer with the sole of my shoe anyway. Well, I guess it's time to carry these kids. As satisfying as this cleanup was, my resident hamster was not happy about me neglecting my healing responsibilities. God, sometimes I forget that Zenyatta is unironically part of the support category. Forget aiming, forget the glory of a play of the game, and forget my DPS pride. It was time to go on the flank and really make use of that pocket Mercy. The enemy tanks had no choice but to forsake the high ground and blow a number of very important cooldowns to stop me from tearing through their backline. And it was that opening that my Sigma could use to, with the help of a nano boost, obliterate their defensive lineup and allow us to claim the objective. We had finally broken the stalemate by setting aside our selfish desires to work together and achieve a common goal. And finally, I learned that it's not aiming your gun that wins you games, it's aiming to work together. Valiant of a fighter as they might be, Weeaboo 69420 would gain no respect from their Reinhardt counterpart. As much as these fights are decided on the back of tank play, defeating a Smurf is and always will be a team effort. The entirety of their lineup would have to pull all the stops to not only support Wee, but also stop Looper from getting away with murder. When the main tanks clashed on the card once again, our hero was proving that they are worthy of their team's support, predicting the charge and countering it in a heartbeat. A Sleep Dart would extend the stun and Weep saw an opportunity ripe for the taking. The follow-up Shadow gave them a chance to deal some real damage, but the enemy DPS used their follow-up to dive into the backline. Twisted, the Moira player, refused to let their Reinhardt lose this battle, popping the ultimate to keep their team alive while continuing to pressure the opposition. But Looper was not to be underestimated. Even while on the brink of death, they were fully capable of delivering a beatdown, and with both of their supports still alive, there was nothing stopping them from doing so. Just when it seemed like this fight was over for good, Ana came back from spawn with a 2 for the price of 1 combo, saving Weep with a Sleep Dart while handing them an Uno reverse card in the form of a nano boost. This was it, the solution they were seeking for this entire time. It was so obvious. Super Looper excelled at weird strategies, the nature of which the blue team started to get used to, but more than anything, their best chance to win was by forcing them into a standard tank duel. Don't get me wrong, Looper was no slouch when it came to holding their own, but as long as the blue team sticks together to force them into a standard encounter, their chance of success was exponentially greater than just reacting to their nonsense. My damage rope would force their Ana to forsake her positioning to avoid damage, resulting in her running into the arms of my Doomfist that already left their Moira in critical condition. Zenpai managed to fend off Maximilian all on his own, and meanwhile on the card, a Graviton Surge that was meant for the Sigma ended up catching Doomfist instead, and suddenly we found ourselves with victory in reach. We had successfully put the enemy team in a very tough position where they had to contest the card one by one again, and while that worked out reasonably well for them in regards to the 2 CP advantage they were given, to say that this fight ended in chaos would be an understatement. Everyone tossed the ultimate into the mix in hopes of that making the crucial difference, but it really felt like there was no end to this match in sight. Even after obtaining a double kill with my damage rope, there was still enemies left contesting the count and everyone scrambled to take out the culprit. When the dust settled and every ultimate was depleted, the victor would be crowned. That's right, my friends, not only did we win the match at the end, but we did so with the president in pristine condition. Finally, at last I could return the favor and thank Zenpai for his kindness by providing at least one victory before ending my session. The end.